Hey guys, welcome. So I'm Pete Kopek, and my guest here today is Lia Chambers. Lia, say hello.
Hi.
And today we wanted to go into some more information about what the mortgage forbearance means, as well as evictions and lockouts and some of that kind of information. So Lia, for the people who don't know, can you just introduce yourself and what do you do?
Sure. My name is Lia Chambers. I work for Real Estate Recovery Group. I am a short sale negotiator. I deal with not just short sales, but we deal with settlements, loan mods, and anything loss mint related in regards to distressed homeowner. Um, been doing that for RRG for about 7 years now. Prior to that, I actually worked for a major bank in the loss mint department as a mortgage assistance point representative, and then up to a processor to negotiator to an auditor. So I've seen both sides of the fence, and I'm kind of glad I'm on the good side at this point. But that is me.
Awesome. Yeah. And Leah is a crucial part of my team and someone who I rely on when I have clients who come into issues with short sales and foreclosures. And we're helping actually someone right now and things are going really well. So Leah is a warrior and she will get out there and she will defend for you. So great stuff. So thanks again so much for joining me. So just wanted to address some of the topics today, with COVID-19 and everything that's going on right now. We've seen some things come out. And I think there is some misinformation and maybe even just general confusion as to what does this all mean? So my first question for you is, we're hearing that there's a 90-day, I believe it's 90-day holdout for eviction proceedings and lockouts. So
Correct.
what can you tell us about that? What does that mean? Kind of how do you see that affecting things?
So at the present time, the indication from Fed was that we are, or I should say, the banks are not allowed to proceed with foreclosure proceedings. That is including with Liz Pendon's action, first legal, final judgment, foreclosure, sale, and eviction. I know that the evictions and the foreclosures are on different timetables. So foreclosure sales that have occurred already effective prior to March 7th, those evictions that were set to be done in April have been pushed out till June. Anything that was due to be in May has been pushed out to July. So
Okay.
that's kind of where we are at the moment for the eviction process. As far as the foreclosure proceedings, everything has come to a screeching halt. There are some counties in some states that are being non-compliant, and so the administration for FHFA, which handles Freddie and Fannie and HUD, they're actually going after and issuing fines to those counties that are not abiding by this
Okay.
regulation that was set in place.
So if you were, unfortunately going to be foreclosed on, in the near future, March or April, you bought yourself a little bit of time before the actual foreclosure proceeding happens. Does that buy you some time to try and rectify it and try and help them out if they are up against it? Or
It does. Yeah, it does. Actually, I have a property right now that's in Suffolk County, New York, and this unfortunate homeowner had filed bankruptcy twice, and there isn't an adjournment process in New York like there is in Jersey. He was up against the wall, and then this happened. So now, the phone call that I had with him this morning was, he's like, well, Leah, what do I do now? There was a sale date that was set for next week, but it's been pushed to June. I said, well, let's call your servicer just to make sure. So called the servicer, and sure enough, they're like, get it in now, get the packet in now. We have to still review the files. They're still open. They're considered an essential business. So if anything, it is a saving grace for anyone that was told once upon a time, you're below that 37-day threshold. We can't review your file for an option. So yes.
So it bought them a little bit of time. Okay.
Yeah.
So out of every storm comes a rainbow or whatever expression you want to say. So for some people, this actually could be helping them out in a tough time. So,
Absolutely.
Kind of always trying to see the silver lining there. So, and then just to recap for anybody who's maybe just joining, Leah's here with me today, and we're talking about how COVID-19 is affecting foreclosures and evictions. And, the reason I called you, asked you to join me today is because I saw you put on a really good post yesterday regarding the mortgage forbearance. People I think are seeing, okay, I don't have to pay my mortgage for 90 days. For a lot of people, that's really going to help them right now. Temporary layoffs, things of that nature. So, Can you just talk a little bit about that, maybe some of the myths and some of the realities? Because I think the big thing is that people think, okay, so I guess that 90 days of payments is getting tacked on to the back end when I can kind of get things back together, so I'll be all right.
Right.
What's your understanding?
So first things first, everyone needs to understand there is a difference between a forbearance and a deferment. A deferment would allow for a homeowner to have a pause payment, and they would take a certain amount of months and allow it to go to the back of the mortgage. But with that pause payment, you're going to have an extended maturity date. So it is uh, and I apologize. It is a modification. Hands down, it is a modification. So with that being said, you need to be very careful on as to what you're getting yourself into, because what the banks are throwing out is the word is forbearance, 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 forbearance. And then they're using the terminology from a deferment and a forbearance, confusing homeowners. The bottom line is a forbearance and a deferment are two completely separate animals. A forbearance is actually where, you're pausing your payments, but they're not being thrown to the back of the loan. They're paused. So, for example, like I said in my post last night, let's say you're calling to the bank today, March 26th, and you're like, listen, I'm involved in this pandemic. I've reduced hours, or I've lost my job, or I've been laid off, or what have you. I need help. So the bank says, okay, and they run you through a financial interview right there on the spot, and they determine if you qualify or don't qualify. 99% of the time, you're going to qualify. That's the directive that the banks have been given, as long as you mention that you're part of this pandemic, or your income situation is part of this pandemic. Well, that being said, they tell you, we grant you a forbearance for 90 days. So then you ask, well, what does that mean? Well, you're not going to get any late payments, and no negative credit reporting for the next 90 days. So in your mind, you're thinking, that's awesome. I'm getting a break. I can pay for groceries or pay for utilities or what have you. But what they fail to tell you is after that 90-day period, this is the key question that you should be asking your servicer is, what happens with those pause payments after that time period? At that point, the bank should be telling you, well, in July, instead of getting a mortgage bill for $2,000, you're going to get a mortgage bill for $8,000, which is going to be your forbearance period plus your current mortgage payment for that month of July. And then it'll make you realize, whoa, this really isn't going to help me. It's not a good deal, basically.
Right.
But let's just say you fail to ask that, you go through the forbearance period, you get that bill, and you're like, oh my God, what do I do? You call the bank and you ask the bank, well, you guys said you were going to waive these or what? And there's no waivement. There's no moratorium on mortgage payments. You must pay your mortgage. I can't stress that enough. The EU is allowing a moratorium on their mortgage payments. The US is not. You will probably be forced to either do a repayment or reinstatement, which is full lump sum. They may allow you to do a repayment plan depending on how low your mortgage payment is. Typically, a $2,000 to $3,000 and below payment, they're not able to get repayment plans, or they'll have you do a loan mod. I have been asked what happens if you've had loan mods and you're not eligible for anymore. Then unfortunately, you won't. My boss actually called into his bank to ask that very question because he's had a loan mod on his property twice, just to kind of get an idea. And the bank told him, I'm sorry, but you're out of luck. So
if someone's done a loan modification in that period that they have the loan, or just recently, they most likely wouldn't be eligible to do a loan modification after that 90-day period if they didn't know that. Okay. Just
that's
wanted
correct.
to gotcha.
Yep. So like I said, it's all about wording, right? So make sure that you're hearing the right things. Make sure it is a deferment and it's not a forbearance, because a forbearance is not a good idea if you're not planning on making any of your payments. Also, always get everything in writing, everything, no matter what. And then sometimes they'll tell you, oh, well, this is a paperless transaction. No way. They have to give something to you in writing. If you don't get in writing, don't engage. Because the last thing you want is for the bank to change their mind, because of course the banks change their mind consistently on a daily basis as to how they're handling this. I mean, look at how our stimulus package is working out right now, right?
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, it seems like things have maybe slowed down a little bit, but last week it went from day to day to hour to minute by minute. It seemed like things were changing. So definitely get it in writing. I think that's a great point.
Right. And so, out there, I did post today, I had a little bit of a tussle in Facebook with some my investors stating, well, hey, we've gotten people that have gotten these deferments. Great. Show me it in proof, because I have yet to see a deferment in writing come across my desk since this has started. And I've reached out to some of my negotiators and some of my servicers like Carrington and Rushmore and Loan Care, SPS, SLS, US Bank, Bank of America. Every negotiator I've talked to, they're like, no, we are not deferring payments for anybody, anyone. They're like, that's not in the program.
And so that's actually one of my questions too, because I think, this is something that's being done, and correct me if I'm wrong, but this is by individual loan servicer who's deciding whether or not they're doing this, right? Or is this on a national level? Is it encouraged? Is it a rule?
So there are three investors that the Federal Housing Finance Agency has demanded that this happen to, which is Fannie, Freddie, and HUD. Ben Carson actually got on live television last week sometime and stated that this is going to happen. Unfortunately, he used the word moratorium, and it threw everyone in a tizzy, because a moratorium would be absolutely amazing for everyone involved, but that's not what it is. It's a moratorium for
I'm sorry, can you just talk about what a moratorium is specifically?
Moratorium is when there is a stop, there's a hold, there's no action in place, that you basically you don't pass go, you don't go to jail, don't collect $200, you're just done. It stops. There is a moratorium in place for foreclosure sales and evictions, so that is true, but there is not one for mortgage payments. So those three investors in specific, they have actually posted it on the FHFA gov site that says, we know that if your ability to pay has been impacted and your loan is owned by these entities, reach out to your servicer. There's a temporary period, and it says temporary period, where you won't incur fees, you won't have delinquencies, or anything reported negatively to your credit, and then foreclosure and all the other legal proceedings will be suspended. Now, after that, very quick, that very quick section, it says, if you have trouble catching up at the end of the temporary relief period, additional assistance may be available. So it's like, wait a minute.
Print, right?
Right. And then it goes on to say, you can work with your servicer to resume making a mortgage payment, or if you need additional assistance, you can work with your servicer on other foreclosure prevention options to keep your home. So that screams lost mit, that screams loan mod, that screams repayment plan, that screams a longer forbearance. And it's there written in government website, embedded right there, black and white, perfect. So now a couple people have asked me about the bank and private loans that are backed by private investors. Each private investor does have the capability of doing something a little bit different. I know that Forbes magazine stated that Ally Financial and Bank of America are doing deferments up to 120 days. I did reach out to Ally, which is whom I actually have my car payment with, to find out, and Ally said that they are not doing deferments on anything, because I have my car payment with them. And I reached out to Bank of America again through my negotiator that's working a file for us, and they too said, no, we're not doing deferment. We don't even know where Forbes got that information. So, and there are a lot of banks right now that if you call in, they're like, we don't know what we're doing right now.
Well, that's, and I think that's a great point too. So I think a lot of people, when they heard this, they started calling their loan servicers and they wanted information right away. And I think I've heard some different things. So I think that that's a great point too, is that this is such a new thing for the person that you're on the phone with. They may not even totally know. And so I think that's a great point too, is just to kind of continue to check back. And I guess kind of one of my last questions is, how do you see this helping people?
Well, so a forbearance plan. So let's just say you actually go ahead and do the forbearance plan. My suggestion,
say it doesn't, that's fine too.
Yeah, I mean, my suggestion is this: if you do choose to do a forbearance plan, then be smart about it. So if you have the capability of making your mortgage payments, but you need a little bit of help in spreading the love out, during a forbearance plan, the banks have to accept any amount of money that you provide them, because technically their system tells them that you owe zero for the month. That being said, if you have $1,000 mortgage payment, which most people in your area do not, but they do here in Missouri, you can take, and you're a biweekly pay and you're still an essential worker, you can split up your mortgage payment in 2 paychecks. And as long as you're getting it in within the month, that's viable. Or even if you can make a partial payment and have a little bit left over that you have to pay after the time frame is ended, at least it's not going to be such a hard blow. So that is the one way that a forbearance is used as an advantage, because you have that wiggle room to be able to pay as little or as much as you want, but just know that the money would be due. The other advantage to this whole scenario is people that are in distress, that are facing foreclosure sales. Now you can get your shit together. I mean, sorry for the language,
That's
but
okay. No,
I
that's okay.
mean, it's the truth
Yeah.
though. Like now you can realize, hey, you were up against the wall between a rock and a really hard place. Now is the time to get off your ass and get going. Get the application in, get your income docs in, restart your reviews. If you're doing a short, if you plan on doing a mod, whatever it may be, now is the time. Like this is kind of like an umbrella of safety.
Right. Okay. No, that's actually a really great point, because as I'm learning more information, I'm thinking this doesn't really help anybody. And it may not help in the way that I think we all hoped, but it's great to hear that it does and could help some people right now, because that's, I think a lot of people are they're scared, they're worried about what's going on and what the future brings.
Right.
So as far, and you kind of touched on this earlier, but what would qualify you for the forbearance? Is it just
Unfortunately, the only thing that I know, the one requirement is that you have to have a job.
okay?
um, if you don't have a job or if you've been laid off, they need to know that you are will be applying for unemployment benefits. So just so that they know there will be some source of income after the fact is what they're looking for. Now, for those of you who are already unemployed, haven't found a job, and you're in that position, unfortunately, the forbearance may not be viable for you. They may deny you, or you might get a servicer that will just say, you get a forbearance and you get
Yeah,
a
right.
forbearance.
Oprah, the old Oprah, handing
Who
out
knows?
forbearances everywhere.
So who knows? But
So that will really be specific to the loan servicer and your
correct.
position. So you
Yes.
really just got to make the call and see what you can work out.
Yeah, that's right. And ask those questions. Always ask. Don't just ask about the now, ask about the after. What
Okay.
means after? And like I said, if they give you that great promise in the sky of you're waving it and throwing those payments to the back of the loan, get it in writing, please.
Super important. All right, Lia. So how can people reach out to you if they have questions about foreclosures, short sales, or anything like that in the area?
Well, you can either go a couple different ways. You can go to realestaterecoverygroup.com and go through the help link, and you can type in a message to us there. You can actually reach out to me directly on my email, which is ah@rergroupllc.com, or you can go to help at rergroupllc.com, or you can call me directly at 201-925-9963. I'm very open. If it's doesn't matter how late it is. I was up till 2 o'clock this morning
I know. I don't know how
talking
you
to
do it. I
people.
swear.
I was had a little bit of insomnia. So my team is spread out across the country. So my husband is currently stuck in California.
Oh,
Um, my boss is in Jersey at the New York State border with the nonsense of New York City, and then my processor and I are in different parts of Missouri. So we're literally across the nation, and it's stressful because I need to make sure that my guys are okay. Um,
right.
so I'm up. I'm got a little bit of insomnia, so
Okay. All right. Great. Well, Lia, tons of great information here. I can't thank you enough, and I know it's going to help a lot of people understand what's going on. And just again, Lia has been a great resource for me and someone who I trust and I consider a partner of my group when I do come across issues in foreclosures and short sales and things like that. So I know you're super busy. I hope you stay safe,
yeah,
and I can't thank you so much. I
no
appreciate
problem.
it.
Thank you for having me. And again, any questions, just let me know.
All right. Thanks,
All
Lia.
right, bye.